IVM.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin, Doctor, your habit coach. And today with us in the hot seat, we have Ravish. Now, Ravish says, how to forgive yourself. Suppose one has committed a crime related to a personal relationship. Then how could one just not regret that? And how could one move on? This is such a beautiful question, and it's something that is very, very important for all of us to learn and understand, because what Ravish is talking about is a word called guilt. Every time we're thinking about how do we forgive ourselves, every time we think about all the wrong that we've done, every time we think about all the people that we've hurt, guilt is the main emotion that drags us down. Like he's talking about regret. Regret because of the things that you've done. That's guilt. Now, when we think about the word guilt, I like to think of guilt as a toxin, as a slow poisoning toxin, a toxin that stays in our body, a toxin that is slowly draining our life force away from us. And the thing is that all throughout life, we keep picking up guilt. We keep doing things that are either mistakes or things that we did consciously that slowly over time pick up guilt. I know so many people who are just human beings carrying so much guilt that they just cannot function properly. There's something that they did in the past that is just holding them down and forcing them, and as a result, they make bad decisions. And those bad decisions come back to bite them, and they feel even more guilty about it. So instead, let's understand how do we get rid of this word called guilt. Now, guilt can only be removed by understanding another word called acceptance. Acceptance is something that teaches you, or you learn that when you accept something, you've understood that this happened. You see, very often when we are feeling guilty, we try and brush it under the carpet. We say, no, I'm not really that kind of person. I don't know what happened at that point of time. Something must have taken over me that I did this. We're not accepting of the fact that, no, you are the kind of person that did that. We're lying to ourselves. And it is that lie to ourselves that is causing us even more grief, even more guilt. So if you understand how to acknowledge that, yes, I did those things, I made those mistakes, I hurt those people. As soon as you accept it and say, yes, I am that kind of person, a large part of the guilt is let go of. I like to think of stress as a weight that you carry around. And the whole idea is to keep that stress or keep that weight down to the side of the road and continue walking. In the same way, guilt is nothing but stress. I like to think of guilt as this heavy, heavy weight that we're carrying that we can put away to the side. Or like the analogy that I gave earlier, a slow toxin where we put an antidote and it disappears. Acceptance is that antidote. Now, once you've accepted that you did this, you have two choices. And this is very, very important, Ravish. These are these two choices that you have to make. One choice is saying that, yes, I am the kind of person that did that. And yes, I will probably do that again. If you say that, then you know where you stand. No guilt. Because now you've understood who you truly are. And the second one is if you understand that, yes, I made that mistake, I did those things, and then you choose never to do it again. If you decide that I will never do it again, these are now not in line with my principles. You've made a decision, you've made a choice, and hence there's nothing more to feel guilty about. So you forgive yourself, not by I forgive you, but by accepting what you did was true, what it actually happened, and then deciding whether you're going to do it again or not. If you do it again, it's part of you, it's your behavior pattern, it's who you are. If you decide not to do it, that is also part of you. That is also your behavior pattern, and that is who you've turned into, and your principles have then changed. So this is how you start dealing with issues in the past that make you feel guilty. I don't want you to ever feel guilty. As your habit coach, I'm looking at you living your life, jumping up and down, having that freedom. Guilt robs you of that freedom. So learn how to get rid of this guilt. Learn the power of acceptance and how to move forward from there. So Ravish, I hope this helps you. Think about what you did. Accept it. I did it. No problem. And then decide whether I'm going to do it again or not. And then you move forward from there. Also, if you want to learn or ask for forgiveness, you don't necessarily have to go to the person. You can just do the Ho'oponopono technique. I'll try and link it in the show notes below. Check out that podcast, listen to it, practice it. It really, really helps. All right. If you have a question, check out the link below and I'll try featuring you on the next Hot Seat episode. I'm Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach. And remember, awesome lives, they start with awesome habits. Usually in a podcast, it's me who speaks to you and you who listens. But I've been seeing your comments and it's time. It's me listening to you. Following the overwhelming success of this podcast, the good folks at IVM Podcast Network have decided to come up with a Kannada adaptation of the show for those who prefer listening to it in that language. Do make sure you let your Kannada speaking friends know about this as well. Now, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am at Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. We have a brand new habit coaching online course, quizzes, videos, and a lot more on the website awesome180.com. So check it out now.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On The Habit Coach, we've hit our 700th episode. That's 700. Public speaker and professional development guide Tonya Lyon speaks to Ashdin about how mindfulness and stillness can be transformative. On Ek Chuski Finance, Priyanka has an interesting story which urges women to take charge of their personal finances. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurav debate whether prohibition is an effective policy when it comes to curbing alcohol consumption. On Audio Gyan, Kedar speaks to Hemant Jha. He is the founder of Honest Structures and they discuss designing aesthetically enticing products. And on Marathi Khidki Tun, the Deshmukhs introduce us to some lesser-known heroes that are working towards the betterment of society. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you enjoyed this show or any of our other shows for that matter, do please tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. You can check us out on YouTube as well. On ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, we have a list of all of our YouTube channels. Do check out if your favorite show is available as full video. We are also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and advertising on the network. We'd really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this week, SBI Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and Jupiter, a digital banking app. Thank you so much for making this possible.
What is the workplace and how does your gender and body affect your right at work? Hey, I'm Priya Mirza, and on the Longest Constitution podcast, we critically examine the vision of the Indian Constitution and laws. In season 1, we looked at sex, gender, sexuality in India, and the landmark judgments which transformed our rights as citizens in this country. In season 2, we discussed the laws which shape the workplace and examine how ability, competence, and merit impact us, and much more. Join me, Priya Mirza, every Wednesday only on the IVM Podcast app, website, and all the major podcast streaming platforms.